All right. All right. I'm Cesar, EOS SoCal. We're candidate block producers and supporters of EOS. We aim to support through various efforts, such as information. We're building community tools, dApps, and we hope to support users and developers alike. So one of the common questions we get is how to register tokens, and given that there's 2 weeks left and the numbers are about 30% registered, 70% unregistered, we figured this would be a good topic to go over. So it's pretty straightforward. Let's see here. So in all transparency here, I have a private key and public key on my Ether wallet, so that that's stealable there. But so the process is pretty straightforward here, so bear with me. Let's see here. So most tokens are registered on my Ether wallet. And as you all know, the EOS did a token distribution using the ERC20 tokens. And the process is that the ICO was distributed through the ERC20 tokens, and ultimately you'll have to claim native tokens on EOS. So in order to do that, what the process goes, you would use the EOS software to generate a key pair, being a private and a public key. And then you would take that public key and you would register it with EOS smart contract that lives on Ethereum. So I'm going to walk through that process there. Let's see here. I'm not an Apple guy. How do you copy this thing? Let's see.
Just highlight it.
Oh, okay. You want to help me out with that?
And then Command C.
Button C.
Gotcha. Okay.
Then Command V to paste.
Gotcha. Where is it?
Funny button.
Funny button V. Okay, so some notes I made here. So the first step is to generate the EOS private and public keys. There's various ways to go about that, and they vary in difficulty level as well as security level. So the easiest way to go is to find some online tool. So one we know about is this one here. Oh, what's going on there? What the heck? You want to help me there, Alex? Okay.
I think it's just
Oh,
a
gotcha.
glitch, yeah.
Okay.
Just click again.
That's a really good joke.
Maybe we should go with a. Is that a glitch? There we go. Cool. So this is a website that runs basically the EOS software that generates the public and private key, and this lives online. So some people might be concerned that if your public and private keys are exposed to the internet, then it's not that safe. So the process is pretty straightforward here. Okay, so let me back up a second. So you just click that button and here's your public key, here's your private key. So private key, you store it away, keep that safely. And the public key is what you would use to register the token interacting with the smart contract, which we'll get into as well. So let's see here. So this is really the easiest way to go about it. This is developed by a community, a person. So this is not an official way to generate them. Again, now that these were exposed to an online interface, it might not be as safe. So if you have a low amount of tokens, this might work. If you have a high amount of tokens, you might want to consider some of the alternatives, which I'll get into as well.
You can clone this offline.
True. So that's the next one here. So here's the Git of the software that this online application is using. And if you clone and download this locally, you could have it offline. And there, once you download this thing, then you would just open, I believe it's under Docs, you would open a
The index.
the index, which is it could run on Chrome, and it would be the same, just you're offline, so it's not exposed to the internet. I don't have that downloaded, but it's it's a fairly light file, so you can do that fairly quick. Okay, so that's more secure. It takes a little bit more technical knowledge, but it's really not that difficult. All it takes is downloading it and just finding the file, opening that up. So that's option A, as I have it here. Option B is a little bit more secure. Sorry, that was option B, to download it. Option C is the most secure option for generating a private and public key. And the process there is a little bit more technical. You would actually have to run an EOS node locally and use that to generate your key pair. And that's a little bit more technical. We do want to offer, for anybody that might have security concerns and wants to take that route, we as EOS SoCal are happy to help people out with taking this process and registering your coins that way. So the second step, once you generate your private and public keys for EOS, then simply you would just have to interact with my Ether wallet, the contract there. See if I can figure this out. Okay. All right, so the first thing is find the contract. Let's see here. Did I miss it? There it is. Yeah. Okay, so there's the contract. And let's see here. Access. So the function, you would go to register. Okay, so the next step is to unlock your wallet. Here I have, let's see here.
Triple click it.
There it is. Sweet. Funny key C. Paste that in there. Okay, did that work? Wallet successfully. Okay, so so now I'm gonna go back here. Generate. I'm gonna. So at this point, you would. This thing's wigging out. Okay, so I would store the private key and take the public key. Enter that here. Right. I believe the suggestion is 90. What is it?
No, you're good. 0 right there.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, amount to send. Oh, the gas is there. 90,000. Generate. Yes, I'm sure. Did that work? Let's try that again. Yes, I'm sure. There we go. Okay, so at this point, the registration should be complete. So now it's just a matter of verification. And the way we would do that is take our public key. Oh. Is there an undo on this one?
Funny Z.
Funny Z. There it is. Funny button copy. Okay. So I got a link here for verification. Oh, I thought I did. What is it again, Alex?
EOS Authority.
EOS Authority.com. Say that again?
You can also do it in the My wallet.
Oh, can you? For verification?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so I'll do it here and then we'll go back there.
Sorry, what are you pasting there?
This would be
Public.
the public key
The same one you pasted. Okay.
for the registration, yeah.
The EOS?
Oh, no, this has to be the
Sorry,
Ethereum
this is, for verifying the Ethereum key, sorry. So
back over here.
this
So
would
it's
be,
generated after you.
so your public, it should be your public wallet. It should be this one here, right, Alex?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it would be your Ethereum public address.
Like the green box that pops up, if you click on that, you just go straight to it and verify.
I would hope it's this one, but let's find out. You're all set for the EOS launch. So so that worked. So that's one way to verify it, and I'm not familiar with this one, but we'll walk through it together.
So go down to change register to keys.
Okay.
And then put the Ethereum address in.
Public.
And then hit read. So if it pops up, which it did, it's good. And if it hasn't popped up, then it's not good.
Got it. I didn't see it pop up, did it?
No, you're there.
Yeah, see under string?
Oh, got it. Okay, cool. So that's the verification of success.
Yep.
Yeah. it's
Awesome.
your EOS address.
So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. So I think the only way it'll get a little more complex is if you want to generate your own private and public keys using an offline, cold storage. Again, we're happy to help you out if you are worried about exposing online. And you could get in touch with us at eossocal.io. There's a bunch of ways to get a hold of us, whether it's Telegram, email, phone number. We're happy to connect with anybody. Yeah, go ahead.
Would you be able to share that document?
This one, absolutely, yeah. In fact, it's, where can we post it?
On the meetup site.
Where, I'm sorry?
Not on the meetup site.
Cool, there you go. Yeah, we'll do that.
I also just published a tutorial to blockchain beach.
Oh, okay, okay, awesome, beautiful. So we'll get a link and post it as well. Did you have a question?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That
Gotcha, okay.
So we'll put his article along with your tutorial.
Perfect. Did I see a question here?
How do you, or what kind of suggestions do you have for protecting that private key?
How to store it?
Yeah.
So I would, I think I brought with me if you're, the best way is just to keep it cold, so where you would not connect online at all. And if that's the case, I mean, you can print it on a cold printer. I'm sure eventually the hardware wallets will allow you to store them. I'm not aware of that possibility just yet. But what I would do is just print it on a cold computer and just throw it in a safe. I know they also have some
Crypto steel.
the crypto steel, where it's a piece of metal where you put in all the numbers. I mean, it's subject to user error, but that's another way to just make sure your paper doesn't get wet or whatever. Did you? Oh, any other questions? Mm-hmm.
Do you save gas fees by hitting claim instead of claim all?
Mm-hmm.
Do you?
Yeah, I ran into that issue too. Lost like $90.
$90?
By running claim all. That was the instruction that was given. I think it runs in like a loop, so it runs out of gas really quickly, but just doing the claim. But you need to go and find out the period date where you bought the EOS from, so then you can go back and enter the date that you want to claim.
Okay, so if you limit your gas, wouldn't it be just subject to losing that 90,000, which is really?
It wasn't 90,000. I think it
Oh,
was 30.
Was it? Okay, so I think we're talking cents. So I would.
That step, I think, is only necessary if you participated in the ICO.
Yeah.
Which is not for U.S. people without a
True.
VPN.
Got it.
Just to
Yeah.
be clear for people who have-
Yeah, which is. By the way, that's another way to generate a key pair is by using a VPN and EOS.io. I might have put it on here.
Yeah, it's up there. number
Okay. Oh, yeah. So number 2, you can go to EOS.io instructions, and that's fairly straightforward. In fact, I might have some screenshots here. Another concern with a VPN is, a lot of these free VPNs might not be as secure. So if you're going to take that route, you might want to make sure it's a reputable VPN. So the interface there, you would just click on this here, the token distribution app. It'll generate your key pair, and I believe you can go through the rest of the process there without having to go back to my Ether wallet, and you can use MetaMask as well there. So yeah, those are the few ways. Any other questions?
I don't know if you touched on it, why you want to register your tokens?
Sure. So you want to register your tokens to make sure that you're in the snapshot that's going to be honored in the distribution once the chain goes live. However, there are some fail safes that we've heard about where if you don't register, you can still claim your tokens using your private key, your Ethereum private keys after June 1st, but you might miss out on airdrops, or you just don't want to take that risk. So we highly suggest you get it done. It's really not that hard, and if you're not too technical, we'll be happy to help you guys out. Any other questions?
You said only 30%?
Approximately, right? That's
surprising.
it is, yeah. And I would figure, like myself, I haven't registered honestly. I should have done it live here, but so next week. Any other questions?
Visiting the EOS.io site, and if you go through the instructions, and it's more related to participating in the ICO, but there's a registration process, but there's a claim process. Is that something only if you participate in the ICO you have to worry about that? Or is that something we need to worry about that after the snapshot happens?
I haven't interacted with that given the VPN issues, but this article here, which we'll post as well, gives details on the process there. We'll be sure to.
The registration side, but then their instructions on the EOS.io is that after you register your tokens, there's also a claim process where you
Right.
claim your tokens.
Okay, so that's part of the. So if you interacted with the ICO, then the process, you're basically, I think they have 24-hour sales or blocks of sales. And then if you participate in one of those, you have to claim your tokens through another smart contract, which is really the same contract, but rather than going to register, you would go to claim. I forgot exactly how that process works, but I believe it's not necessary if you bought your tokens through, call it an exchange or whatnot.
Okay. Right. So only if I'm going through the ICO, but if I buy them on Binance or some exchange,
Then you don't have to claim. Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions? Sure.
So if I've already registered and now I'm buying a bunch more, do I have to re-register?
As long as they're in the same Ethereum address, then you're okay. So you're not really registering individual tokens, rather where they live.
But you would need to make sure that every time an airdrop happens, they're being stored in that Ethereum wallet as opposed to sitting on a different.
Before the snapshot.
Prior to the
All you
snapshot,
do is
yeah.
transfer back after the
You need all the tokens in that wallet for the snapshot.
Right. Yeah. So outside of an exchange, basically. Yeah. Any other questions?
I'm currently storing the tokens in Exodus, and they
Yeah.
have like a single button.
That's
registration.
true. Very easy.
Is that safe? Is there
Yeah.
is there a way to
It's.
verify that actually happens?
Yeah. So you can. So it is a one button thing, and I've seen it's really easy. And you can use the same verification methods, whether it be through my Ether wallet or you can go to this EOS Authority and use your public address to verify. Any other questions? Awesome.
Thanks,
All right.
Cesar.
Thank you, guys.
Hi everyone, my name is Angel, and I have registered my tokens.
Sorry, let me just set it up. Cool. All right, so we're gonna talk a little bit about accounts and wallets, and it's gonna be a little bit of a pair program-ish type of session with the crowd and with Alex here, who's kind enough to join us from Eos SoCal, and he's very, very, very knowledgeable, and he's sharing that with us. So I bounced a lot of ideas off of him, and just even prepping for today. So we're very thankful for Eos SoCal support with all of this. So we're going to talk a little bit about the EOS process. Let me see, that's not it. And to do that, there's a wiki that, you know, anyone pretty much technical right now is kind of just parsing through and trying to figure out what's there, what's missing, documentation that's outdated, and we're just kind of all battling through the same thing with fast updates right now with EOS. But there's this cool tutorial on accounts and wallets, and you heard a little bit about what Cesar was talking about registering your public key, and we'll actually see what that looks like, more of a command line interface on what that public key, private key ends up looking like. And if you wanted to get that technical, like what he was talking about, we're actually going to do a little bit of that in the presentation. But really what you want to think about with EOS is that in a contrast to Ethereum, where all you need to worry about is your private key and public key, with EOS you're actually creating an account. In Ethereum you're not really creating an account, you have access to an account if you have the private key to it. In EOS that's a little bit different if you're not used to that. There is an account creation process. There's a process of not only creating an account but seeing now what private and public keys that account manages or owns, in other words. And you could assign it different authority levels to do different types of transactions. So that's all kind of, you know, it changes a little bit about how you work through this flow. So we've been doing a lot of reading of the wiki. Here's, at least from the technical side, how you interact with account wallets and creation and all that. So, yeah, my computer's bugging out, huh? Sorry about that. Cleos, or I don't know how other people call it, but I call it Cleos. This is kind of like the command line, the CLI for this. This is what you type in for doing all these types of commands that we're going to use. Now you use this to interact with this portion right here. This is what actually has the wallets. Oh, sorry about that. Huh. Interesting. There you go. So this is your wallet management right here. This is what's holding, and it exposes an API that Cleos actually interacts with. And you need to have this running. You don't want to have this running in a public setting. This is something that you really only want to have in your machine. If you're on the technical team, this is what you would have very secure on your server somewhere if you're going to be running that behind anything. These two then manage the wallet, and then it interacts. Let me do this here so I don't bug this out. It interacts with your actual node OS, and this is what is actually interacting with the blockchain right here. So node OS doesn't necessarily have to be local, because by the time anything gets to here, it's already been signed, the transaction's already been authenticated with your keys, and this just ends up posting to the blockchain, and then the block producers end up taking it from there, right? So we're going to be talking a little bit about these two pieces right here, the CLI interface and how we interact with that in the wallet interface right here. And then we'll do a little bit of sending a transaction via the node OS and hopefully to a public blockchain. So let's see how we do that. We're going to go through a little bit of the wiki right here, but we'll just do it in the code. So, or in the command line. Yep. Bigger?
Thank you.
More. Okay, cool. Okay, so this is already installed. Now to get this in your computer or in your server or whatever, you go through the build process for a node. I think you can install just the Cleos tools on their own without having to build everything. I don't know how, but in theory you should be able to, because it's not really, it's a tool, right? And I'm not even using the local node for this. So maybe we can figure that out later, and if you just want to install the CLI and not install everything else, the wallet management portion of it. But the cool thing is that once you have it installed, that we have it already here, one thing I like to do with command line interfaces is just run them and see what happens, or throw a -- help in there and see what you get out of there. So we see that if we run the Cleos command, we have like version, create, transfer, wallet. And so we'll just stick to a couple of things that are basic to us. So if we do like Cleos wallet, then it's going to give us what commands we want for these wallets, right? So we'll do a Cleos wallet list. And these are two wallets that I set up earlier, test A and test B, but we'll kind of go through this process again. It stores it in a file and it's encrypted, so you need a password to actually open them up and interact with it. There you go. And here's where the files are. They're encrypted, so whenever Eos needs to interact with it, it'll read that file, and then you put in the password that it gives you, and then now you can interact with it. So that's one portion of it. Let me do that again. So if we see what's in the contents of one of those things, it's just a cipher key again. It doesn't mean much. You'll interact with it. You'll need your password to use it. All right, so let's go back to where we were. Okay, so let's start with creating a wallet. So what does that mean? We're going to create a wallet that our local machine has. This isn't something that's going anywhere. This is just stored in your local machine, wherever you're having that. So we'll do a Eos wallet create, I think it is. And then we're going to give this a name to kind of distinguish it. So this is a wallet that's going to live in this machine, and we're going to call this a Meetup wallet. So now you see, when we created this wallet, it gives you a password. And that's the password that you want to save if you're using this on the back end. And this password is what's going to give you access to that other key, the cipher key that's in there. The wallet on its own, though, doesn't do much for you right now. It's just a wallet there. Now, how do we interact with this so that we can use it and actually have transactions? This is where we get into what Cesar was talking about, your private and public keys. Every wallet needs to have some kind of private and public keys that it holds so that it knows what to do and it can sign transactions on your behalf on the blockchain. So we're going to need to generate some private and public keys, and this is where we can do this, and we see the process of it actually in the command line instead of using a website or something that you have to download from GitHub. So I think it's Eos wallet. Let's see here, or Eos. Eos. Yeah, there you go. Create. I'm just going to type that up so you can see that it gives you the option, so you don't have to memorize everything. Eos create. You see here key creates a new key pair. So let's run that a couple times. Eos create key. And this is doing what that website that Cesar showed you. It's just doing this pretty much right in your machine. And you see all it is a private key, and that private key corresponds to this public key. It's not saving it anywhere. It's not storing it. It's not going online. It's just running the algorithm and spitting out a key for you. So we can run this as many times as we want. It's not really doing anything. If you wanted to take this public key and register your tokens to that, as long as you saved your private key, you'd be good to go. It's the same thing that you're generating. But we want to use this on the wallet. So we want to actually assign these private keys to a wallet. And we're going to, go ahead, Eli.
So if, let's say one of those private key and public key pairs, I guess, you don't register them, that's not potentially somebody else's?
No, these are kind of like the Ethereum private public keys, where the likelihood of you generating the same ones as someone else would be very, 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 very lucky if you generate someone who has a lot of EOS. I can see Eli just spending his day like this now. All right, but yeah, so this is the equivalent of a private public key on Ethereum. The only difference is you're going to use these and assign them to an account in EOS. We haven't done any of that. This is just us keeping it in our actual wallet still. So let's go ahead and import some of these into our wallet. Now, we don't have an account for it. This is all just in your local machine right now. And we're going to do that. Let's see, Eos wallet. Let's see, import. There you go. Eos wallet import. Then we give it a private key, right? We give it the private key. And then we tell it which wallet we want to use it for. So what do we call our wallet? Meetup? Meetup. Okay? So there you go. Imported private key for Meetup. So we import it. Here's that. So now this wallet that we're using, it has one private key. Let's give it another one. So we imported this one that ends in J9. Let's go ahead and import this next one.
So the same wallet can have multiple keys?
Yes, in EOS, that's one of the interesting things, that your account can have multiple keys and they can all be assigned for different purposes. Right off the bat, when you create an account on EOS, you need an owner key and an active key. And I think you could use the same one for both, but it's probably not the best route. You want to have a different one for each one. and they have different authority levels for something else. So here's us importing the second key into this. If we had more, because we have another very limited key that we're going to use for a different purpose, we can import it. This, again, is all happening just in your machine. None of this is synced to the blockchain yet or anything like that. It's just your machine having access to this wallet and doing it that way. All right, so
is that multiple private and public key pairs that you're importing to the same wallet?
exactly.
One single private with multiple public keys?
No, that's a good question. It's multiple private and public key pairs.
Okay.
So you can have different key pairs for different things. And right off the bat, the two ones that you're going to get most familiar with are going to be your owner key and your active key. And your owner key, I believe, is the one that can reset everything for you. And your active key is the one that you would generally use to sign your transactions. If you use Steemit, and I just started using Steemit last week, so it's not like I'm super experienced with that, but that's one pattern that I noticed that's kind of transitioning over. So you have your owner key, and then you have an active key as well. And then in Steemit, you have like a poster key or something like that, where you can actually post, but that's all you can do. And then you have a different key that you can use for updating your profile and things like that. So you're not always exposing your most powerful key all the time. You can choose which ones you're doing. Similar concept in EOS, where you have like the master, the owner, that's the one that you really, really want to make sure that, well, you want to take care of all of them, right? But if you're going to take care of one the most, it's going to be your owner key. And
but they're all attached to one single wallet.
so you're going to attach them to two places. One is in your own machine, you attach them to that wallet, that way you don't have to use multiple ones for different things. When you're creating an account, then you're going to attach two, the owner and the active key. And those are the type of things that maybe I build a DApp and I give you authority to use it, and you give me the private keys, and I assign in my DApp that your public key only has authority for certain weight versus the transaction. Maybe I need 10 people to sign it, so you only have a 10th of the voting power there, and that's how you would manage it. But this is part of that. So where were we? Creating the wallet, we import it. So if we do a Eos wallet list, we'll see that we have Meetup, Test A, and Test B. The Meetup wallet right now is unlocked. That little asterisk there means that if we do a transaction, we can unlock them. If we do something crazy like Eos list keys, I think, or Eos keys, right?
Yeah.
Nope. Eos wallet keys, maybe. There you go. There's all the private public keys that EOS has, that my version of Eos has right now to work with. There's one that I couldn't figure out why it was showing up, and then I figured it out. It's the EOS.io public key.
Okay.
Yeah.
This isn't for the Meetup wallet though.
Meetup wallet, did I import them?
You need to specify Eos wallet.
Let me see.
Dash N Meetup.
Oh, I think these are all the keys, right? Yeah, it's okay. None of these are. Yeah. None of these are real. No, maybe it's the new version that kind of lets you specify that. Yeah. The versioning keeps changing on us pretty quickly, so that's probably what it is. But yeah, this is a list of keys from the Test A wallet, the Test B wallet, the Meetup wallet, and the EOS.io wallet. When you're spinning up a test node, it gives you the key so you can create accounts right from it. At least for me, that's what it did. Okay, so where are we now? So we've created our wallet. We have open wallet. We can lock it or unlock it, and that's when your password would come in. I won't show you that because it's pretty much what you've seen before. Lock, next time you want to use it, it's going to ask you for your password. If your wallet is locked, that asterisk that I showed you earlier would just not show up. So that these, right now the three of them are unlocked. If it wasn't, then those wouldn't show up. All right, so now let's say I want to create an account. Now this is where Eos SoCal has been kind enough to set us up with a node that we can play with. And they've got that set up so you can create an account in that node, kind of start interacting with it, start getting your feet with actually interacting with the blockchain. So I did that earlier. Let's see, get, I think. So here's the Eos command again. Actually, let me do this. The Eos command, and now we're specifying a specific host because now I'm not going to be talking to my local machine. I'm talking to a remote host. Now, I'm not sending my private keys or anything to this host. All I'm doing is I'm querying it. And what I'm going to do is I specify the host, the port. This changed a little bit, the syntax in the version that they're running. But for mine, this is -- host. You could do a -u, I believe, and that would work as one of the newer versions. And then here's the command. Get the currency, the balance EOS.io, and then the account name. And I have an account called Angel in there. So let's see what that does. So there you go. That means that right now I have 557 EOS that I can claim on mainnet, right? You guys? Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. So that's there right here. So now let's go ahead and do something else. We're going to continue with the command line interface, and we're going to create a new account. Now, this is not creating a new wallet. This is actually creating a new account in the blockchain. Again, different to Ethereum, where all you have is access to an account's balances and all that. In EOS, you're actually creating an account on the network, which means that there's going to be some type of transaction cost associated with it, which means someone has to front that cost to create your account. You can't just go on EOS and create as many accounts as you want and, you know, spam the network with just new accounts. So the way that they were doing it, I'm not sure how it's going to happen in the future of who's going to be creating at least the initial accounts. But right here, I'm going to use my account to fund the creation of someone else's account, okay? So let's see here. I think I've done this before, so I'm just saving myself some time.
Initially, all the block producers will be fronting that.
Block producers will be fronting that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Very cool. Okay, so, oh wait, that's not it. That's still currency balance. Okay, here. So let's walk through this, and let me, I don't think I saved the other keys. I can probably, all right, whatever. So I'll just go through this command right here. Let's see here. Right here, we're using the same command line interface. We're specifying the public node that we're using. And then we're going to now call the create account. Here, it's my account. So I'm the one that's going to be fronting the cost to create this account, or staking the tokens to create this account, right? At this occasion, I was creating the account with the name of Ross. Now, the tricky thing is that right now accounts are limited to 12 characters, I think. And then they're only A through Z at lowercase, and you can use a dot. And that's it. You can't use capital letters. You can't get, you know, so it's very limited. Once you create this, you need to go who's going to fund the account, what the new account name is, and then you see here, these are not private keys. These are going to be your public keys for that account. We don't need the private keys. The network itself doesn't need them. It just needs to know what are the public keys for that account that we need to interact with. The first one is your owner key. The second one is your active key. Okay, so again, let me see if I can, I'm going to run this again. It's probably not going to work. Let's see, Ross, can I run?
New name, yeah.
Ross, Ross with 3 S's. All right, let's try this out. Yep, question?
Is there a reason why we're moving to 12 characters?
I have no idea. Anyone knows?
Squatting, they, you know, they're afraid that everybody would rush and squat on the names. So it's a prevention.
No, it's a different thing. So that.
Oh, sorry, I might have misunderstood. Go
No.
ahead.
So it's limited to 12 for processing, in terms of what it's going to cost the network to process later on. And so they say that the amount of combinations that you can do with up to 12 characters is just so absurdly high that there's no reason to go any more than that.
Okay. Got it.
So there you go. So again, 12 characters, but we see here, this is one nice thing that I really appreciate about EOS versus when we were doing a lot of things with Ethereum, which is readable things right from the CLI, right? Things that we can actually interpret. So right here, I can actually read what happened, right? EOS.io, it created a new account. Who's the creator? This is the account Angel. What account did we create? Ross, the owner, the threshold for the keys, right? This is the owner key, and then the rest of the log would give us the active key, all right? So now, if we actually try to get our balance, we can try to see what this balance for this new account is. This is Ross with 3 S's. And you see that there is no balance. If we had the prior account, which I was playing with earlier, we see that that one has 10 EOS. So how do we do transfers if we're doing it from the CLI as well? So this is also another thing that we learn, which is pushing. If we do just a Eos push action, you're going to see that it's going to ask you for a couple things. It's going to ask you for, let me see here. Here's the usage. Eos push action options, that means that you have to, at this level, choose something from this list right here or that's what you can input. So the options, and then contract, action, and then the data that you're sending. Okay. Now I noticed that this says action here in the documentation. It's set message, so it might be just something that changed from when the wiki was written.
Yeah, that's changed a few times. I think action is what they're settling on.
They're setting on action. So action, you should be good to go. The wiki still says message, so just keep that in mind that it's going to be an action now. So action data. So let's see an example of this. So here's an example of this. Let me change this to Ross with 3 S's. Yeah. There you go. Okay, so similar idea. We're specifying the host. This is not on my machine. This is an actual node that's running. We're going to push an action to the EOS.io contract, and the contract function, I guess, that we're calling is the transfer. And then our data, what's our data? Our data is going to be transferred from Angel to Ross. We're going to transfer 10 EOS with a little message. Here's 10 EOS. And we're going to do it from which account? Remember our wallet issues that we had earlier? We need to sign this transaction or else it's going to be rejected. How do we know what do we sign it from? Well, this is from the Angel active account. So what Cleos is going to do is going to check, do we have access to the public keys or the private keys for this account that he wants to sign with? If we do, it'll sign it, and then once the transaction is signed, it'll push it onto NodeOS, and then the blockchain, the block producer will pick that up. So let's try that out right now. We're going to go ahead and try to transfer 10 EOS to this new account, Ross. And there you go. So you see here, there's the cycles, there's a transfer, and you see the readable text. And that's one thing that I really appreciate. Again, it's readable. You get messages that make sense. So if we do a balance check again, get currency. Now we're going to go ahead and get currency for Ross. Now we have 10 EOS there. All right, so we're getting rich here. So again, the CLI, it's a little bit trickier, more advanced, but it's not super scary, right? Especially if you have someone that's maybe technical on your team, they don't have to relearn all these new things. It's just the command line interface. And the good thing is they're including a lot of helpful messages. So you type in one of the commands and you try to see what it does, and then you continue, and then it'll give you some more. And then if you do a sub command, then you go on and on and on and on. And this is just pretty much a learning process. We're all kind of in the same boat. So I've found that a lot of the people in the community, the developer community especially, they're super helpful. Everyone's kind of just willing to lend you a hand because we know we're all in the same boat. We're all just kind of learning through this together. So that's the whole process. That's an account. That's private public keys. That's creating them on the CLI. That's creating a new account actually in EOS or an EOS node, and then transferring some EOS. So that's that. Any questions?
How did you install the command line interface on your laptop?
So this is actually not on my laptop, but it's in a remote server. And the way you install it is if you go into the wiki. There's a setting up a local environment portion in here. And in there, you just kind of use whatever your script, the script that they have automated for. They have like these versions. So Mac OS included. I'm using right now the Ubuntu 16.04. I don't know about if anyone else has set up a node. I see 16.10 recommended. I had such a tough time setting up Dawn 3 and 16.10. And then I did 16.04 and it was like a breeze. So just a little tidbit right there. Now, the setup that I have right now, the ones that you just saw, is Dawn 3. And Dawn 4 was just released. That one, we were going to try to set one up for this meetup, but it's still a little bit finicky. So if you're just learning and practicing anyways, go ahead and set up Dawn 3 for now. At least the command line interface for creating public keys, private keys, that's all pretty much the same. It's just generating a key pair. So that won't end up changing. There's a Docker version of this. For those familiar with Docker, I had trouble with that one as well. So I'm sure someone else hasn't, but on my end, I had a little bit of trouble with it. The easiest one that I saw to set up were these two. The Mac OS I was able to set up without too much of a problem, and the 16.04, not 16.10. Okay. Anything else?
Is there a tutorial yet for deployment of code?
So the EOS Wiki itself has a couple things. The only problem is that some of the wiki doesn't get updated as fast as the actual code base does. But if you look at the wiki itself, you have like at the end of it tutorials, right? So introduce EOS smart contracts and then getting started. They even give you like a hello world and a tic-tac-toe. So you can start getting familiar with that. But as far as more advanced things, I think as the community starts releasing actual things, we'll see more of that. Yeah. Anything else? Nope. All right. Thanks, everyone. So now for the next portion here, we're going to invite Crystal, who is our CEO here at SENSE. And she's going to be talking a little bit about the importance of block producers, the importance of voting, and why it's so important that we have a diversified community within EOS. All right, Crystal, you don't need this, right?
Where are all the ladies at? Well, I have an important message for you. So welcome to Eos. Eos was just born as a way to educate women in the blockchain space, specifically in how to use the EOS network. And so we want to encourage not only more blockchain developers, but women developers who are working on EOS. So Eos is a block producer candidate, but more than anything, we are a community of women who have gotten together to really spread the message and allow more inclusion for women. So we love diversity and we love to encourage more female engineers in general. Right now, there are about 4 to 6% female engineers in blockchain. There are a very small percentage of developers in blockchain anyway, so we know that this is a really small space, but we want to encourage all the women. So we have 11 women who have gotten together to create a block producer candidate and to reward females by giving back in the way of producing and giving our rewards into scholarships. So we want to, through the Academy School of Blockchain, provide scholarships to women to allow them to go straight into the development courses. So you'll see us coming up here and in other places. We're all around the world. There are several of us here in the back. Hi, Naomi and Pam. And one of the things I wanted to talk about, so you're here at SENSE, and I'm the CEO of SENSE, and our team has done an amazing job as we're transitioning from Ethereum into EOS. We love both chains. We think that being blockchain agnostic is still really important as the entire ecosystem grows. But for our purposes, doing what we're working on with decentralized messaging, we just need really fast transactions, and we need lower fees. And so as we've gone along this process, we've been learning about everything involved. And what we've learned is that there's something really important around owning tokens and being part of the EOS network. So overall, this is a big community. We're an amazing community. We all get together and we're collaborating and we're encouraging everybody to really be a part of this network. But there's something important now that you've learned how to register your tokens to learn how to vote with them. So rock the vote or block the vote. Why are we voting? Well, because decentralization. So what's really important with EOS and the way that the proof of stake works, so I'm out of order here. So DPoS, what is DPoS? Delegated proof of stake. Why is that important? Well, the current system with Bitcoin is proof of work, and we all know that that means that it has cost a lot of money. So the fees that are charged in energy consumption are representative of the fees that we have to pay for transactions. It is centralized in a sense. So the amount of processing that's happening in one central location, primarily Asia, has gotten so incredibly prevalent in the whole ecosystem. It's almost 80% of the entire network. So, and more than 50% of the network is only run by 4 miners. So that is a really centralized system. So DPoS is seeking a way to create a consensus-based voting mechanism that allows us to create a more decentralized internet or blockchain. And this is really, we call it decentral-ish because there still is some element of decentralization that exists. So there just has to be for now. And it's just getting closer. So Dan Larimer had created delegated proof of stake as a way to change the amount of people that are able to mine. So The dividends that everyone earns should be higher. We're going to maximize it. The performance of the network should be better. The amount paid to secure the network, so the fees that you're paying should be lower, and the cost of running the overall network should be lower as well. So you're able to stake your tokens and vote for block producer candidates. So just like the block producer candidate for the EOS SoCal that you just met, there are others that are our friends, and I think maybe even here today, they're the Liberty Block folks that are here, and you'll see EOS New York, EOS Detroit. There's so many different candidates. And so if you go to the it's EOS Go website, you'll see all of the candidates and what's going on in the current ecosystem. So each EOS is worth 30 votes, each token, and that's how you vote for your block producers. So if you had 1,000 EOS, you can vote for 30 block producers, each with the power of 1,000. So it's not that you have to separate them into different wallets. They're trying to minimize the power that whales have in the overall voting. Really, this is, you cannot give all 30 to one candidate, so you have to pick 30, which is great because you should really think about the geographical diversity that could happen and where you really want those miners to be. You'll see a lot of candidates all over the world, but still centralized in Asia, so we're working to find how can we support candidates that are in other places. And that's pretty much it. So we want everybody to think outside the blocks. We want it to be more of a community-driven effort and really think about how we can sustain long-term as a community. It's a pretty complicated system, so it was amazing to see Angel just show us how to use the command line. Block One only released a command line tool for voting, so voting is just as complicated as registering. And what is happening now is a lot of people are coming together to create applications that will allow you to vote more easily. When you vote, you have to stake your tokens to something on the network. So you will have to choose if you're going to back bandwidth or CPU. It's 50-50. You will have to have your tokens in a lockup during the time that you're voting. So it's something like 72 hours. It's a 3-day process every time you vote. And the votes are calculated every 2.5 minutes. So it's really rapid how many times the producers will cycle out. Now you'll see some of the larger ones will probably always have a top position. Bitfinex, Huobi, some of the larger exchanges who've already jumped in, Bancor. And these are people that will create tools that will allow them to stake the tokens on their own network. So it's going to be really easy for them to keep the tokens. But just remember that if you're not actively voting, it means that you're allowing that centralization to happen. So the top exchanges who already have all of the fees and have all of the tokens will now have all of the rewards as well. What we would rather see are community-driven companies or foundations that are able to get some of those rewards so they can circle them back into the system. When you're voting, also look for the community benefit rewards that have been staked by the people who have been up for candidacy. You have to have a community benefit project, and that's why our project is pushing forward the education of more women in blockchain. That's what we're committed to do. So thank you so much. Make sure that you rock your vote, block your vote. Thank you for being here. Thanks, Angel.
Go ahead.
Are there term limits for this block producer?
You're always constantly being voted on. So there's 21 that will be producing blocks, and the share is equal among all 21, which is unique to the ecosystem. Actually, EOS SoCal has a really good chart on this with the breakdown of how Ethereum, Bitcoin, and EOS works. There are another 100 that will be waiting basically to turn on the nodes as soon as the 21 get voted out or have a failure, so there's a failover. Total, I think, is 179 that can be waiting at any one time to produce, and all of the rewards are distributed out to them. There's really not there's no long term for anyone. It's constant voting, and that's a really interesting mechanism because it means there's a constant needing to stake. Also, there's not a set it and forget it. So if you do vote, your voting power decreases over 1 year. So half of the year in, it decreases to 50%. So the voting power lessens. So you could stake all your tokens, but the voting power is going to decrease if you keep voting the same.
So there's still an issue though, because you have to create an account, and you have to create an account to a public blockchain, and then you have to still receive your tokens to be able to vote. So in your mind, what's the timeline of how this is all going to develop?
Hopefully people create applications that make this easier. But you can also use a proxy for voting. So one of the things is you could stake your tokens to a proxy for your vote. And I think that that's going to become a pooling mechanism. You're going to have to be comfortable with the lockup on the tokens. And what that also means is that the network stabilizes. So there's a certain number of tokens, and primarily from the whales wallets, that will always be locked up as the voting is consistently happening. I hope it happens quickly. We're going to have to just rapidly get the programs out.
Is there any way that voting can be linked to usage in communities?
Well, that's a good question. One thing I know is that the Block 1 Discouraged is intrinsically tying voting and rewards. So EOS DApp is the only one that seems to have skipped over this message and it provided an airdrop to everyone and said they're going to do a community-driven decentralized autonomous community. And I think that that's really interesting, and that provides rewards for everyone. So if you're holding DApp tokens, you will essentially get rewards from the network. But I don't know how much you would tie the rewards or the votes to the usage. Yeah, they've done everything to try to mitigate whales from having too much control, yet we're already seeing pooling happening in a really substantial way. So I think this is where it's important for everyone to vote if they want to see true decentralization, or mostly decentralized. Decentralized is still as good as we can get, but if you really want to see it not fully housed in Asia, you've got to pick people in Brazil and Mexico and everywhere else, Canada, just sort of anything that's a diverse choice.
So where are you guys announcing from? What geographic area?
We're decentralized.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So we are currently in progress. We have people all over the place. So the business is being formed, or the formation of the foundation is being formed currently. The servers will be likely in Serbia, Iceland, and we're looking at other locations in South America, so maybe even Brazil. We want to have a really diverse range of where the servers are and just truly distribute it.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, and we're excited that there's a lot of collaboration overall. So really, it benefits all of us. I talked to EOS New York this morning. We've been chatting with all of the different producer candidates, and when it's not a one or none, it's actually you get 30 that you pick every single time. And so if you only pick 1 out of 30, you're just wasting 29 votes. So EOS SoCal, Eos, we're all going to work together and keep pushing for the community.
So if you have 10 EOS tokens, you can stake those 10 EOS tokens 30 times.
Exactly.
So you can vote for Eos 10, and then EOS SoCal 10.
Exactly, and 28 others.
But we don't have an interface yet of how that's going to work.
The interface is currently command line. That is the only tool that they have released.
Is there a tutorial already? But here's the issue: is that how for the command line to work, you still have to connect to a node that's going to...
Oh, so at the beginning, there are 21 randomly selected block producers that will be running the network for the first 30 days while voting happens that are getting 0 rewards. There's one producer that's literally the coin flip in the football game that is the power button that turns them on, and then there's 21 that are the nodes that will run the network during voting.
Okay, so are the parameters advertised yet? The IP address, the port, nothing. So what medium is where that information is going to be published?
For us, Steemit is the best location. It seems that EOSGo, EOSGo.io or bp.eosgo.io is a bridge, self-proclaimed bridge between Block 1 and the producer community, and it's a listing of everyone. They give a lot of information as well, and so they've created a checklist by which you are fulfilling everything that Block 1 has asked you to do. Part of that checklist is to have a Steemit page that has every single thing that is happening within the block production that you're working on, so it's a complete overall bit of information. I think Steemit's going to be the top resource for that because every block producer is right now leveraging Steemit to get their information out. They wanted it to be on the blockchain as well so that you can't manipulate information, you can't put information out and then change it later. So every 7 days it's also snapshotted by Block 1 and every producer is held towards transparency. Hopefully Steemit is the best resource. I don't know if there's another one that you can think of.
Steemit, there's people that publish on Medium, but like you said, it's not decentralized, so to keep the spirit going. I agree with the, Steemit.
Yeah, Steemit seems to be the way. And this is it's a true essence of community, right? Because it's almost like you have to rely on the community to get the information as fast as possible. I like that about EOS.
Yeah.
A lot of
Cool.
So are you saying that the network's not going to like fully launch for 30 days, or that the voting's going to last for 30 days, and as long as 15% of the vote is cast, that's when it's going to kick off? Or
The
how does that
voting,
work?
yeah, the voting lasts until there are 150 million tokens at minimum,
Got it.
or if 150 million votes, sorry, not tokens. 150 million votes, which is not inconceivable to do very quickly, I think.
No.
The whales alone will do that.
Yeah, yeah,
Imagine
well,
block rewards will start getting paid as soon as that happens.
Yeah.
yeah, and I imagine that all of the exchanges are going to create tools that make it really easy to stake your tokens there, because it means that you're going to lock up your tokens on the exchanges.
A lot of the candidates are working on a GUI so that you could just do it not through the command line too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting, and I'm sure we'll post that as soon as it comes out.
The developer focus group, so maybe we can come up with something.
I know, I feel like if you came up with an application, maybe we could do a hackathon next.
Absolutely.
That's a great idea.
Absolutely. All right, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal.